Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got a transforming third-party figure review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Newage, the Legendary Heroes, number 56, Dinosaur Forces, Jungle Warrior, Rhedasaurus. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but that's the way I'm going to say it. So let's keep moving, and we will bring that box in and take a look at that. First things first, and yeah, you've got the Newage Legendary Heroes. You have, those are his goofy little eyes. And you've got that, Dinosaur Forces, you have the artwork right there, Jungle Warrior, Rhedasaurus. Over here on the side, you have a nice shot of him in his bot mode. Back here, you have a picture of Devastator, or their version of Devastator, picking him up and getting ready to throw him. And you have your warnings down here if you want to read it. You have Newage down there, box art by a little bird. And then over here, you've got that same product shot. Up top, you have those two product shots, and down low you have those two product shots. So not a lot of excitement on that box. So what we'll do now is we're going to get that out of the way, and we're going to take a look at everything that came inside that package. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that comes with Rhedasaurus, and I'm just going to start right over here and get this out of the way. This is your sheet of instructions. So nothing too exciting there, but there you have them. And that leaves you with the rest of this stuff, and let's go ahead and talk about what's right here in the middle. So these are, and we'll take a look at these later in greater detail, but these are actually leg covers for the Newage Grimlock, Ymir, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So yeah, these are for the inside legs on that Grimlock, just to cover up all the other stuff. So yeah, there you go. All right, so now we will move on. Let's see, what's the next thing we'll talk about? We'll talk about some hands. So you've got 2/5. As you can see, one of them I've taken off, one of them I left on, just because, his right hand was holding the gun, left hand was splayed out. But yeah, so they come on a sprue like this, and then they are just the gray plastic there. Nothing too exciting. They look nice, but nothing crazy. All right, and then of course didn't mean to throw it at you. Then of course you have the left one. And now let's move on to the other hands. So these are your splayed out hands. So these are really cool. I do very much like these, and that of course is your little post right there to plug him into his arm. But yeah, these are cool. Good amount of detail. You've got each of those individual segments for the fingers, and then of course you have the ability, well, he's on the sprue right now, but you have the ability to bend at that wrist right there, which is really cool. And of course this one's on the sprue. Here's the right one, just what I was talking about there, where you can move that, give you that extra bit of motion. We'll take a look at that in the articulation. Next up, you get some spare toes. So this is pretty cool. I'm not going to take him off the sprue. I'm probably just going to leave him like he is. But yeah, these are for his dino mode. If you want him to have some gold toes, you can certainly use those if you want to. Next up, we'll look at those goofy eyes. So this is a callback to that literal 1-second scene from the Transformers movie when Devastator stepped on Sludge and made his eyes pop out. So yeah, there you go. They just plug right into his dino head. Again, we'll take a look at those in greater detail when we get him in his dino mode. But yeah, there you go. It's kind of cool. And then you have his gun. Pretty cool. Nothing too exciting here. You've got a couple different colors. You've got this plastic and a lighter gray up here. You've got the gold. You've got the darker gray. And over here is what that side looks like. And then you plug it in, and as you might expect, he holds it and shoots it. Before you wonder, no, it is not blast effect compatible. It is almost, if you get lucky, you might get a little bit of friction, but yeah, not quite. If only this was just a little bit smaller. But yeah, so there you go. That is everything that came with Rhedasaurus, or Sludge. So now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at his details. Here he is, that third-party Dinobot we've all been waiting to see. This is Rhedasaurus. So let's go ahead and bring him in for his close-up, and we will start right up here with the head. And this guy is I mean this in the nicest possible way. He is very G1 basic. So not a lot of detail on this body, but he just looks really darn good. So there is that face. And yeah, it'll do for me. I mean, could have been maybe a little bit more detail in there, and it's kind of flat, but I think it gets the job done. Sculpt work looks nice. Coming on down to the chest. Would have liked to have seen some more paint in here, just something to differentiate that chest area right there. You do have a nice spot to put an Autobot symbol on there, though. Didn't want to forget about that. Same thing down here, just a little bit of sculpt work. Would have been nice to have a couple spots of paint right there just to break up that monotony. And then coming on down to the legs, I think the legs look pretty nice, and these are a marvel of engineering in themselves. So obviously this is a lot of what you're going to see in the Dino mode right here. And then on the insides you can see what's going on. He does not have inside leg covers like what came with him for Grimlock. Maybe with the next Dinobot release we'll get covers for this, I don't know. But yeah, everything compacts in there pretty good. No real hollow areas to speak of unless you want to talk about this little guy right there. And then he's got nice gold bot toes. There's the bottom. And then lift his arm up. Well, don't lift his arm up yet. Give you a nice side profile view. So he does have that typical Sludge backpack. He's got those wings, and then of course he's got that that I believe he is a Brontosaurus, not an Apatosaurus. I think he's based on the old Brontosaurus dinosaur model. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. But he's got the Bronto neck back there, and then other than that, compacts up pretty well. No major backpack. And coming on down, take a look at those legs. Not a lot to talk about there. And then coming up to that chest area, not really worried about this hollow area because he isn't really hollow. You can see there's more stuff going on in there. So these are his other little tiny dino legs that are in there. So before we get any further, you do have detail inside those wings. So really cool to see that. And then taking a look at those arms. Nothing we won't see in Dino mode. And then of course he's just got those spots right there where you can plug in whichever hands you want to use. And seeing him from the back, I think he looks good. This is not a case of let's put all the screws in the back because nobody will ever look. This guy looks good even back here. So, and these are, we'll talk about in the articulation a little bit, but those wings are adjustable. So depending on where you want to put him, I think he comes out looking pretty darn good no matter which angle you're looking at him. And there's that dino neck. And looking up under there, you can just see a flat butt. And then you've got those legs. Everything coming together pretty nicely. So yeah, I think really overall looks in bot mode, this guy really pulls it off. He looks phenomenal in my opinion. The biggest complaint would be give us some more paint, something to break this up right here in these areas. Other than that, I think he really pulls it off well. So now we're going to talk about that articulation, and in order to do that properly, we're going to need some hands on this guy because they are a part of him. So I'm going to take that left hand and I'm going to plug that in. If I can get my hands on that arm and plug him in. There you go. And then take that right hand and give him his fist, and then we're good to go. So yeah, now I've got hands. He's complete. Okay, so articulation, the head, I've got it looking up a little bit right now, but you can look down that far. You can look up pretty darn far if you want him to be a flying sludge. And then you've got a little bit of tilt either way, and then you can go all the way around, full 360 on this guy, even though it's kind of tight. You can, didn't mean to hit my camera, I'm getting all excited, but yeah, you can go full 360 on that guy. Very tight ball joint, not complaining. All right, and then talk about those wings real quick. You can bring the wings back if you want to have that kind of a situation. You can do that. If you want to bring them forward, or want to, you can bring them forward. You can also disconnect them. They're on little posts right under here, so you can just give these a pop and then disconnect them, and then you can change the angle on those if you want to change the angle. So you can bring them up, bring them down. It's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. So lock them in, don't lock them in, your choice. For now, I'm going to keep that guy back there so it's out of my way so I can talk about the shoulder. So the shoulders, you can bring the arms up that far, and then you can go all the way around. And then you've got double jointed elbows, so you can get a nice deep elbow bend there. And then bicep rotation happens right below or right above that elbow. And then coming down to the hand, you obviously have that ability to rotate that wrist, and then you can bring it out that far. You can bring it in that far. Nothing at the fingers, but good hand movement there. Just real quick, talking about the fist, the only thing you can do with the fist is rotate it. You're not going to bring the fist in or out, so kind of stuck with that. All right, and moving on down, let's get him out of the way like that. Going on down to the waist, you do have waist rotation, and then you do have the Newage ab crunch, so you can get him looking way down if you want to. Very cool. And then bringing those hips out, you get a full split. You do get a Rhedasaurus, Van Dam, and you can see my hip joints are just a little bit loose. They're not awful, but they're not as tight as I would like them to be. To be fair, these are really heavy legs right here. There's a lot going on right here, which helps balance the figure, but it also makes it difficult for him to keep his legs up. But yeah, so you get a great split out of him. And then forward kick, great forward kick, back kick, you get about that much, which is more than enough. And then at the knees, you get well over 90 degrees on the knees. Coming on down to the feet, feet are a little different here. So this area right here, this is your ankle tilt. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. So you can ankle tilt that entire assembly right there. Just be careful when you tilt it back. This little gray guy right there connects the toe area to the rest of the foot. So if you just grab the foot and bring it back, you might have a tendency to knock that out. So just be aware of that. But yeah, so ankle tilt, actually get that far out. You can get a full 90 on the ankle tilt. And then as far as doing anything else, you're not really going to unless you pull this toe out and try to wiggle that a little bit. But ankle tilt is definitely where it's at. And I'm just double checking, making sure that I didn't miss anything here. Yeah, you're not going to get any toe or heel motion on there. So overall articulation, I think, is done very well on this guy. I would have liked to have had something more in those feet other than just the ankle tilt, but I think almost everything else really hits the mark on this guy. Like I say, I just wish my hips were a little bit tighter, but other than that, no major complaints. This guy's really well articulated. Now, as far as the accessories go for Rhedasaurus here, you're not going to do a lot with him here other than just plug his gun in. So it's, as you would expect, you're going to plug it into his hand. He's going to hold it securely, and he's going to hold it up and fire at things. That tight head over. And yeah, I mean, it works. It's not overly exciting, but really great for posing. And he looks really good holding it, and just that overall shelf presence here, I think, really sets him off. So not much else to show as far as accessories here. Like I said earlier, you don't really have blast effect compatibility. You could kind of pretend in that mode, but it's just super easy to pull that out. It's not really there. For those who may be wondering, for the Newage Grimlock, he comes with this flame that you can use with Rhedasaurus in his Dino mode. You cannot use it here. It doesn't plug in. It doesn't work. So you're not going to use that either. You're going to use your imagination. So there you go. A lot of imagination action going on. So like I said, not much to talk about as far as the accessories here. You do have a couple of fun ones that you can use in the Dino mode, but this is basically it for him here. So now that we've talked about all that stuff, let's go ahead and get into the transformation and get him into his Dino mode. So as we get started with transformation here, one of the things that you're going to notice is that I've gone ahead and I've taken the hands off. Now, there is a possibility that you could leave the fists on while you transform him into his alt mode. I haven't tried it, so I don't know if it actually works. I just know that I take the hands off, makes it easier for me. So that being said, if you want to try it with the hands on, go for it. But let's go ahead and get started on this guy now. So we've got the hands off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take these little dino claws right here, and I'm going to turn them in like that. I'll do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to come around to the back right here, and I'm just going to lift this dino head up so you can see what's going on back here. So you've got all this compacted in, and you have this chest assembly right here. You can see we've got a point of rotation right there on those pins. We're just going to take those and we're going to pop this open. So you're just going to put your thumbs right here and give this a pull, and then you're going to pop those open just like that. And you got that big old dino head in the way. There you go. So you've got that popped open just like that. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pop these wings. So these wings are just pegged in right there, so I'm going to pop that out, and I'm just going to let that sit loose because we're going to need to collapse these in. Kind of a sneak preview here, or what we're going to do is lift that up, and then you're going to bring these in just like this. Heck, we could probably just go ahead and do it right now, so let's do that. So bring your wings in like that, and then just bring that back down. Now you can't collapse the wing if you have the leg in the way. So make sure you lift the leg up, and then you collapse the wing on that double hinge, and then just give that a push and make sure that it's flush right there. I was going to do it later, but why not do it now? It's totally fine. All right, so next thing we're going to do is, you see that break right here. So you've got a little kind of a dovetail design right there. So what you're going to do is, you've got this screw, right? Let me get a pointer. You got this screw right here. That's your point of rotation for this assembly right here. So what we're going to do is, we're going to actually rotate that around, and you can see how you've got that break right there, and then you're bringing this around and bringing that on down. Make sure you go all the way to the hard stop, okay? So once you get there, you should have something that looks like that. And what I always do is, I want to make sure that I have this cuff right there sitting between these 2 points. I don't want it out here. You want to make sure that it's between those 2 points. All right, so you should have something that looks like that. Then we'll do the same thing over here. So let's go ahead and follow the same order. Lift this leg up right there, and then bring this wing, and you're going to need to tilt it. So you can see you've got one peg right there, one port, and they're not quite on the same level. So you need to turn that wing a little bit, bring it over on that double hinge, and then collapse that in. Then you can bring that leg back down. Coming over here to the arm, you're going to rotate that arm again on that point of rotation right there. So bring that over all the way until you get to that hard stop. Bring that arm up, and then make sure you have that cuff in between those 2 points right there. All right, so once you're right here, the next thing that you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to play with this head. So take the bot head, lay that down completely flat, and then you're going to take the dino head. It's sitting on this funky double hinge assembly right here, and you're going to bring that underneath the red part, and then you're going to shove everything in. So you can see how the robot head has been recessed into that area. All right, so next thing that you're going to do is, you're actually going to bring all this up, and this is going to collapse together right here, but you need to capture the dino head, or the dino neck area, and you can see you've got this little dovetail design right here. So you're going to bring that up, and then you're going to bring these pieces together and make sure that you capture right there in that dovetail, and then compress that in, give that a squeeze, and then you have that dino neck locked in as it should be. Next thing we're going to do is, we're going to rotate this 90 degrees or 180 degrees, so that way you get kind of a proper sludgy neck version right there. All right, so now that we've got all that out of the way, now we can come down here and we can work on those legs. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to rotate that waist 180 degrees, and then I'm going to spread these legs out so I can see what I'm working with here. And let's flip him over so he's like that. All right, so we're going to work on the right leg, or what is our right in this case, right here. We're going to work on this one first. So what we need to do is, we need to separate the toe from the rest of the foot, and you can see this little gray hook right there. So if you just take your toe and twist that, kind of use that ankle tilt, and then hold on to this piece, take that toe back down, that's going to free this up, and then you can swing that in. What that does is, it gives you this split right here, where you can actually take these two pieces and split the leg, which I'm going to do right here. You're going to bring that out, and you're going to bring that out. So you should be able to split the leg like that now. All right. Now, after you have that free, now you need to take this piece right here. This is normally flat, that's your foot. So you need to take this piece right here, and you're going to flatten that out with the rest of it. And then you're going to get this tail right here, and you're going to bring this tail out. So be careful when you do the tail. You don't want to bend it right here. So you've still got that little bit of plastic right there. You actually want to take it and rotate it, bend it right there. So bring all of that out. So you've got that open area sitting in there like that. All right, next thing we're going to do is take this little guy right here. We're going to flip that little guy in. And then we can take this piece right here and flip that in and lay that flush. Okay, so now coming out here to give you the visual, what you're looking for is a flush dino body. So you have, excuse me, I had to clear my throat. So you have a double hinge right in this area, right there. So you can see how that double hinge is moving for you. So what you need to do is, you need to make sure that you have this oriented, so when you bring the leg together, you have a flush dino body. So on that double hinge, this is for your bot mode, and for your dyno mode, you want it out like that. And then you have two separate slots right here. So if we look at this leg, you can see that the slot is on the inside angled one, or the tab is on the inside angled one. And for your dyno mode, you're going to want it on that outside straight one. So just use that as your visual cue as well. So once you have that lined up as you should, then you just push those two together, and then you've got that locked in place, and now you have that tab sticking out right there. So once you've done that, now we're going to take right here at the knee. So the knee normally moves like this. We're actually going to collapse this in. And as you can see, you've got your tail here, you've got the rest of the leg right there, and we're actually going to take this assembly and we're going to rotate this assembly around 180 degrees. And then you'll notice you have this little area right here. Your tail is going to fall right into that area. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. And then you can bring this down and collapse that back up. And then you can see we're getting to where we need to be as far as the dyno body. But before we do all that, I'm going to do this side as well. So go a little bit faster here on this one. We're just going to lift this up, take that toe down, flip this little guy in. I'm just going to go ahead and bring that down. Now I can split that leg. And then I'm going to open this up right here. And then I'm going to bring this tail out. Make sure you bring it out on this hinge right here, not this one. So right here, bring that tail out just like that. And then you're going to move this to the outside. You're going to collapse this. You're going to take this little guy right here. You're going to flip that little guy in so he's sitting flush like that. Bring all this together. Make sure you're in the right tab. Give all that a squeeze. And then we're going to come over and bend that knee right there just like that. And then we're going to go 180 degrees. And we're going to put this tail right in that spot right there. And you should have two that look similar. All right, so speaking of the tails, let's go ahead and take care of that. This side is easy. You just flip that out and you're one and done. Over here, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to flip this one out, if I can get a grip on it. But then you've got this little guy sitting in there. You need to get him out as well. So take him out, and then you'll notice right down here you've got a little notch that matches these notches on his back. So you need to take that tail, rotate that 180 degrees just like that. Okay, so now next thing we're going to do, you're going to have to do a little bit of maneuvering here, because you need to bring this up, and when you bring that up, you see where all that's rotating. So it doesn't matter when you do it. You can do it now, you can do it later. You're going to need to rotate these legs. And oops, don't get that skirt in the way. And it helps if I actually rotate the legs at the right point, at the hips, not the thigh. I need to rotate the hips. So put that back. That's annoying, sorry about that. So make sure you're turning him at the thigh, or at the hips, not the thigh. At the hips, not the thigh. Watch what you're saying, man. People are watching. So rotate that 90 degrees. Bring this up 90 degrees. And then you can start bringing all of this together. And then you just start collapsing all of this in. So push that in a little bit more. And bring these legs up, and you're going to clear those claws right there and bring those in. And then if you look up underneath here, you have these little tabs right here, so you're going to align all of that. And then you have your tail, of course, so start squeezing that in right there. Come up here, make sure you've got everything together, give all that a squeeze. Squeeze your tail together, make sure you're looking good down there. Got everything lined up. And then to ensure that he stays together, you've got these tabs here, you've got these slots here, so these were his toes in bot mode. You're just going to lift these up, they're on sliders, so you can see that little slot right there. Lift them up, make sure you've got enough clearance. And then you're going to bring those down right on that slot, just like that. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Lift it up and bring it down. And then you've got him all locked into place, and now he's just a little swimming sludge. So then next thing we can do is just take these legs. You're going to bring these legs down like that. you're going to open them up like that. Look up underneath here. You've got some more dino feet, so you're going to swing those out and bring out those claws, and then swing that leg down, and voila, you have a dino leg. So same thing over here. Swing that down, swing this out, swing these out, take those claws out, and collapse that. Ta-da! And then over here, you don't need to swing them out if you don't want to. I'm just going to do it for purposes of making sure I clear my paint and I don't scrape up against it. And then I'm going to swing it out, and then you've got this little assembly right in here. You can see how this works. So when you extend that foot out, you can see this little guy moves right there, and then you can bring that down and then bring these little claws out right there, and do the same thing over here, and lift that up, rotate that, bring those little claws out, oops, not back in, and then close that. So other than posing, getting him looking all pretty, you now have Rhedasaurus Sludge in his dino mode. So yeah, here he is in his dino mode, and he turned out looking great. I think for a legend scaled figure, this guy looks really, really good. Wonderful adaptation, G1 callback to that original Sludge. Just really like what they've done with this guy here. But I figured I'd throw him on the turntable, let him go around a couple times so you can get some full unobstructed views before we bring him in for his details. But yeah, what a good looking figure. Transformation is not bad at all. It's just kind of finicky. You need to be really careful with where you have everything positioned. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward, and looks almost as good in this mode as he does in bot mode. For me, bot mode is better, but I still like what they've got going on here for sure. So let's go ahead and get the turntable out of the way, bring him in, take a look at his details, and then we'll get into all the fun stuff you can do with Rhedasaurus in this mode. Now that we have that turntable out of the way, let's go ahead and bring him in, and we're going to start with that head, which looks pretty good. Nothing as far as color to talk about here. It's just a kind of that nice yellow. Open that up, and you get a little bit of detail with those teeth in there. You see that he does have a peg in there where he can use Grimlock's flame effect, which we'll see here shortly. And you see he does have those blue eyes, kind of a sneak preview here. You can give him red eyes as well. You just turn this and he goes from red to blue. Well, I was going to say sneak preview, but now I'm just doing it. So there you go. Red eyes. So up to you. Red, blue, whatever you want to do as far as that goes. He looks good either way. Blue means he's a good guy and he's not angry. And coming on down, taking a look at that neck. Pretty good detail there. There's those wings. Could have used something here. It's good to have the sculpt work, but same thing right here. Good to have the sculpt work, but a little splash of paint would have gone a long way. We do have some down here though, which looks nice. And then there's those dino feet and legs. He is a bit squared off right here in the front. Nothing awful. It really is fine. It almost adds a mechanical kind of flair to him, and being a Dinobot, maybe that works. And coming around here to the back, you do have some paint right back here, and then you've got that tail. Really like the tail, what they've done with it. Looks good. And then there he is from the left side, and from the top, and from the bottom. So all the way around, that bot mode just disappears, and you've just got a dinosaur. If you were going to look for it anywhere, there's the squared off shoulder area. But other than that, that bot mode is just gone. Yeah, this is just a dinosaur now. So very, very cool. Like I said, I think my biggest issue is just going to be a few more paint apps. Would have been nice, but everything else as far as the overall looks for this guy in his dino mode, I think they've done a fine job here. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation now. And yeah, he's got a good amount of articulation here. So again, we're just going to start with the head. You have a multi-jointed neck here, so you've got some motion up, you've got some motion down. Really depends. You can spin this around a full 360 if you want to, so you can then, at this point of rotation, bring that head down. So if you want him looking further down, you can. If you just want him like that, you can do that as well. But you could just get that extra motion depending on how you have that oriented. He can look at his own back, which sounds like something Sludge would probably do. But yeah, so you've got all that motion. You've got to, wiggle left and right, spin it around, whatever you want to do. And then you have that full 360 motion there. Head goes up that far, head goes down that far. You can open that mouth that much. So yeah, a lot of expressions you can do with this guy as far as that head and neck go. So very well done. Coming on down to the front feet. So front feet you can bring out that far. You can go full 360. You have forward that far. You have backward that far. And you have toes where you can bring them in. Do what you want to do there as far as that goes. I don't know why you would want to, but you could if you open this up. You could fold him up like that. I guess if you wanted to have him laying down. Yeah, you could. You could totally have this guy laying down because you could do it with this side as well. So yeah, that's something to think about. All right, bring that back out. Bring that down. The rear legs, very similar to the front, so you can splay them out like that, full 360 if you want to. You've got a joint right here where you can go forward that far. You can go backward that far, and then you have that range of motion in your toes. And then if you wanted to, you've got that extra bend right there. So, you know, if you wanted to give him a stance like that, I suppose you could. So take advantage of that if you choose to do so. And then back here for the tail, you can bring the tail over that far to the left and to the right that far. No up and down as far as that goes. You can spin this if you want to, but then it's out of alignment with the rest of the ridges. So do with that what you will. But yeah, I think as far as a dinosaur goes, he's got some pretty good articulation. You can get this guy in some really, really fun poses for sure. So have fun. Now, as far as the things that you can do with Sludge in this mode, we're just going to start with the flame effect because why not? Technically, he didn't come with it, but it works. So you just find that ridge in there and plug it in. If I can actually get the flame on there, there we go. Get that peg down. Get the peg down where it's supposed to be. Come on, man. There we go. And yeah, you've got a fully flaming Sludge right there. So that looks pretty cool. I dig it. So have fun with that if you have the Grimlock. You know what I haven't tried? Because, you know, right in the middle of a review is a good time to try it. I don't know if regular blast effects work. They do. They do. I bet a skinny one would work better. Yo, there you go. He has his own blast effect. Even better. Love it. There you go. Blast effect compatibility. Goodness gracious, that is lovely. All right. Well, now I have something new I'm going to play with later. All right, so next thing you can do, we talked about the eyes already. You lift that up, spin that around, you got blue eyes, red eyes. But then the other thing you can do is you can take his weird cartoon eyes and plug those on. So you just take those and clip them on. Easy peasy like. I say easy peasy and then they don't clip on. There we go. All easy peasy like, and then I don't know what was the pose, like he was down like this or something. Yeah. One of those devastators smacking him. Yeah, so you can do one of those. He looks handsome, doesn't he? Yeah, I like it. Ooh, wow, he kind of looks like a Cylon right there. You see a little bit of the red in there. Yeah, so you can totally do that as well and have some fun. Now, not really much else you're going to do with the guy. You can't really do anything with his weapon. There's no weapon storage, really nowhere to plug it in. You can have a little bit of fun. I was doing this earlier. Take the weird eyes off. Googly eyes. Come on, they just snap on. There we go. Snap them off. And ooh, I like that look too. That's kind of cool. But yeah, if you want him to be angry, and close that up. Now he's got angry red eyes, and now I don't know. You make him like Chubbs with from Happy Gilmore. You can do that. I was having some fun with that earlier. So we dropped Chubbs' hand. Yeah, so you can do something like that. So have fun. But yeah, he looks really good. So I enjoy him. There's a lot of fun to be had here with this guy. So now that we've probably talked all that to death, let's go ahead and move into the comparisons and see how he looks compared to some other figures. For our first comparison with Sludge, we have a fellow Newage Dinobot to take a look at. This is the Newage Ymir. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. YMIR. This is their take on a legend-scaled Grimlock. Here we have another Grimlock comparison. This is the Transformers Legacy Core Class Grimlock, part of that combiner set to make Volcanicus. Next up is the big guy. This is the Transformers Studio Series 86 Sludge as we saw him from that 1986 Transformers movie. And last but certainly not least, this is my G1 Dinobot Sludge. And two things to note. Number one, you can see that the legend scale scales up pretty nicely with that G1 figure. And the second thing worth noting is this is the only Dinobot that I have that's still relatively intact. There's not really anything missing off of him. I don't know how that happened. Maybe he was just a little more sturdy than the rest of those guys. But yeah, good to finally see a complete G1 Dinobot, at least in my collection. That's going to do it for those alt mode comparisons. So let's get this guy transformed back into his bot mode. So to get this guy transformed back into his bot mode, the first thing that I'm going to do is collapse these legs up. So I'm just going to start back here with this rear leg. And all we're going to do is lift that up. And then you can see you've got a hollow area right there. So you're just going to take these dino claws and you're going to bring them in like that. And then you're going to rotate that leg in just like that. Bring this down. And then spin this around so it's pointing to the back, and you can see it kind of matches the shape right up here. Alright, so while we're here, we'll do the same thing over here. We're going to lift this up. We're going to fold his little claws in, so these fold in all the way like that, and then close that one up. And then you're going to make a 90-degree bend at the elbow for this one, and then you're going to close that up right there. If you want, you can go ahead and bring that up so it's sitting like that, kind of get it in the orientation for that final mode. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Lift that leg up, close those claws, fold this in, bring that down, and bring that to the back. And then over here, fold those claws in, and make that 90 degree, close that up, and then bring it up so it's sitting like that. Now, actually, you know what? That looks like he might just be sitting in the water or something. So if you want to do that, hey, go for it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to split him right here. So I'm going to grab him by the hips right here. These are going to splay out a little bit, but it's going to give me... Oh, no, I'm not. Goodness gracious, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. I need to disconnect these. So pop those up and then push those toes down on sliders. Same thing over here. Pop that up, and then you'll see it's got that gap. Bring the slider down. Now I'm going to split it. It's a lot easier when you do that. So bring these out. It's going to splay these out a little bit, but then you're just going to give these a pull and split that tail and bring these on out just like that. Alright, so I'm going to turn my attention to this tail first. This is the standard tail. You are just going to flip that in like that, and then you're going to bring this entire tail assembly out. So not right here, right here. You want to be able to see that gap right there. Alright, and since we're on the conversation of tails, this one's a little bit different. You've got this little gray notch up at the top that matches those other gray notches. You're just going to spin that 180 degrees on that ball joint, and then you're going to bring that in. And then that's going to tuck away, and you can see where that little gray notch just drops right into that cavity. Then I'm going to fold that piece of the tail in, and then bring all of this out just like that, so you can see that gap. Should have something that looks like that. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to split these legs. So if you grab and put your thumbs on either side and give that a pull, you're going to open that up right there. And that's going to give you the ability to spin all this around. So take this and go 180 degrees, and you'll see now that you've got a little notch area right there. You can just bring that over, and then you need to get this little guy out. But in order to get this little guy out, you need to move this flap out of the way, and then reach in here, make sure you're still split, reach in here and bring that in just like that, and then flip this piece out right there, and then your tail is going to tuck away. So this is sitting on a double hinge, so you can see that's the outer and that's the inner, so just sitting on that double hinge right up there. So you got to make sure that you move that to the proper orientation, and then you're going to bring that tail in, and you've got the tail sitting just like that. And now you can take this piece and flip this piece down, and then you have everything tucked away as far as that goes for the feet. So then you're going to take this back piece right here, you're going to bring that down, and you can see you are going to drop in on this slot right here, this inner slot. So line that up and give that a push, I say that. Come on. Trying to get it lined up there. There we go. Oh, I didn't have that pushed in all the way. That was my problem. There you go. So you've got that on that inner slot right there. And then the next thing that you're going to do is take your toes and connect your toes and the bottom part of that foot. So just grab this, pull that out, pull this out a little bit, and then push this out. And then line those up, and then connect the toe to the rest of the foot. Bring that down, and then you have one leg complete. And ooh, I don't know, I've never tried this before. Will he stand on one leg? If you balance him right, maybe. I don't know. This is a distraction from the rest of the transformation. But yes, yes he will. Well, so now that I've shown that he can balance on one leg, let's keep going here. So we're going to go ahead and take care of this leg. So we're going to make sure we've got all that bent as it should be, and then we're going to rotate that 180 degrees. Go back this way, be a little bit easier. And then you can bring that leg out just like that. All right, so now we're going to split these, bring those out. We're going to bring this little guy out right here. And then we're going to open this foot and bring this in on that double hinge. So just a reminder once again, you've got the double hinge like that. So just be aware of that. So you're going to bring that in. You're going to bring that tail in like that. And then you're going to take this piece right here and you're going to fold it over just like that. All right, so now do it a slightly different way on this leg. We're going to go ahead and open this up right now and pull this little guy out. That way we don't have to go digging for it later. So now that we've got that where it needs to be, now we're going to take this back piece right here. You've got that slot. We're going to swing this up and then squeeze this leg and put everything where it belongs. Line that toe up, and then you've got two legs done. And now look at that, he can balance on two legs just as easily as one, probably even easier. All right, so now that we've got that, we're just going to go ahead and proactively rotate that waist 180 degrees. You could do it now, you could do it later. I'm going to do it now, and just like that. So once we've got him here, we're going to turn him around, and then we're going to split this piece open right here. So you're just going to put your thumbs on the inside, however you want to do it, and then just pull that apart. And, you know, ta-da, there you go. All right, so now we need to get these wings out of the way. So you have these, the dino legs in the right position, but you're going to need to lift them up. So that way you can access the wings right here and pull those away from everything else. So you will see those little gray dots right there. Your wing is clipped in right there, so you're just going to need to pry on it a little bit and pop that out. And then it's sitting on a double hinge. Trying to find the right view here. Sitting on a double hinge, so after you pop it out, you're going to lift it up on that double hinge and then bring it out. And you will notice on the back side here, you've got that little port, so you can angle that wing, bring it up, and then push it in right there. And then you've got your wing locked in about where it needs to be. So now go ahead and bring this leg, dino arm, dino piece back down and have it sitting something like that. We're going to do the same thing over here. So lift this up and take that wing, bring it out, angle this, push it in, bring that down, and you've got that taken care of. All right, so straighten that out and you can start to see where we're going here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this head and start pulling this head out. And ultimately, you're going to need to have this red piece sitting horizontal. So in order to do that, you're going to pull this all the way out, lift that head up, and then start collapsing all of this. Lift that head up the rest of the way. Get this up above. There we go. Helps if I get it up above it. And then you want it positioned like that. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do is you can deal with these arms now or you can deal with them later. I'm going to go ahead and deal with them now. Make sure you've got a little bit of a bend right here because you're going to need this little dovetail area right here. You're going to swing this assembly right here up. And then let me move the arm out of the way so you can see. So that way you've got that connected like that. These two pieces will come together on that dovetail. All right, and then I'm just going to bring that wing forward. So do the same thing over here. You'll see this move right here. So swing that forward, bring that arm down, and then you have this all lined up on that dovetailed piece. Coming back here so you can see what's going on. You have, before I close these all the way, I'll show you, you have pegs here, and then right up here you've got these little ports, so on both sides. So you're going to get the pegs in the ports. I know you're surprised. And then down here you have these little slots or these little tabs right here that are going to align to these little slots right in there. So bring that down, make sure that you capture that right there. So as you bring that waist in, or bring that lower body in by the waist, you want to make sure that you've got that captured, and then you can give those a push, and then make sure you have your pegs lined up there. Give those a squeeze in, give it a squeeze in down here, and make sure you're all set there. Now the last thing that I'm going to do, just because I don't like the way the head sits like that, I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees, and then I'm just going to drop the dino head like that, and then I'm going to bring the wings forward. Now you'll notice, as I stated earlier, I don't have the hands on. I take the hands off when I put him in dino mode, so he doesn't have any hands at this point. But the last step that we're going to do is just pushing those pieces out like that, or those little dino claws out. And once you've done that and you put your hands on him, you will have Rhedasaurus, aka Sludge, in his bot mode. Starting off with our first robot mode comparison here, it is a fellow Newage Dinobot. This is Newage's take on the legend scaled Grimlock. And earlier we mentioned some of the things that Rhedasaurus Sludge came with. A couple of those things were the leg covers for Grimlock, and that's what we're looking at right in here. So just going to grab him real quick so you can see those leg covers just pop right on there and cover up all of his good bits, and they do a pretty good job of it. Our next comparison is also a Grimlock, although he is nowhere near as impressive as the Newage version. This is the Transformers Legacy Core Class Grimlock. Moving on to our next comparison, this is the weak-kneed big guy. So this is the Studio Series 86 Leader Class Sludge as we saw him from that 1986 movie. And last but certainly not least, this is my G1 Sludge that I've had since I was a kid, and he is my last remaining intact Dinobot. You can see that these guys are pretty comparable in size, even in bot mode as well, but my oh my, how far we've come in a few decades as far as engineering goes. That's going to do it for the bot mode comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So there we have the Newage Toys number 56 Rhedasaurus, aka Sludge. And what a cool figure. This guy is, he's just so much fun. He's not perfect, but he's getting pretty darn close. So let's go ahead and just jump into it and talk about this guy a little bit. We're going to start with the overall looks, the aesthetic that he brings. Both modes are almost perfect. It's a wonderful shelf presence that he brings. There are little things to pick on here. So again, he's not perfect, but for a legend scaled figure, everything that they packed into this guy is pretty amazing. So starting off with the most obvious one, at least for me, is I think they could have used more paint in both modes, in the Dino mode and in the bot mode, just something to break it up. And really, as he swings around here and we see the front of him, you can see what I'm talking about. I mentioned it earlier in the review, just in that chest area and in that crotch area right there, it would have been nice to have a little bit of paint there just to make it pop. And then on the backs of those wings, when he's in the Dino mode, they could have had some paint applications put on there as well that would have just been icing on the cake as far as that goes. Now, out of both modes, for me personally, the bot mode is my favorite. One other thing to mention in the bot mode, and you can see down here, very similar to the Grimlock, he's got a lot of exposed stuff going on the insides of those legs. Personally, I like it. I think it adds to the depth of the figure. You can see part of the transformation and some of the magic of what's going on there. But there is a part of me that kind of hopes that they bring leg covers out for Rhedasaurus here as well, kind of like what they did for their version of Grimlock. One other thing to mention as far as something that changes that overall look or adds to that overall look is when he's in his Dino mode, you can flip that head open and you can change his eyes from red to blue and back, which is really, really cool. So like all that very much. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for the overall aesthetic. I think he just really brings it. Doesn't matter which mode he's in, he really brings it and looks the part, and he's just sugar for the eyes. All right, so moving on to the articulation. This is very well done. You know, I have very little to complain about here, but the one thing I am going to complain about is I would have liked to have had some articulation, some type of motion in those feet. So we get the ankle tilt, but that's it. You don't get any up or down to speak of, which could have really added another dimension as far as the ability to pose him. So, you know, these heels back here, if you could have moved them down, if they would have been strong enough to have some weight bearing on them, you could have really taken it up a notch as far as the posing for the dynamic posing that you would want to do in the bot mode. Dino mode's pretty good. There's almost anything that you could ask for there, and the Dino mode is really good. I just think the bot mode is it detracts from him not having that additional motion in his feet. Everywhere else is great. The head's got great motion, of course the shoulders, double jointed elbows and knees, and the waist rotation and the ab crunch as well. Just would have liked to have had more on the feet. So I'm going to ding him a little bit for that because it does limit you. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for the articulation. Moving on, or excuse me, a 9 out of 10, not an 8 out of 10. Goodness. Moving on to the accessories. I think they're nice. They're nothing overly exciting, but for a figure at this price point and at this size, the stuff that you get is really cool. I mean, you of course get those goofy eyes from that one scene in the movie where they pop out in his Dino mode. You know, he's got a pretty decent looking weapon, so his pistol, rifle, whatever you want to call it, looks pretty good. I mean, it's not a lot of detail, but I think it gets the job done. Comes with a couple different sets of hands, which are really cool, and then you get those extra gold toes for his Dino mode if you want to use those. So very cool. Now, one thing where I think they missed their mark is that opening on the pistol. It was almost the right size for blast effects from the mainline figures, but it's just a little bit too big so they don't hold in securely. However, you can use Grimlock's flame when you have him in his Dino mode and you've got that mouth open. You can use that flame that came with the Newage Grimlock to make Sludge or Rhedasaurus here fire breathing. So I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for his accessories. Moving on to overall quality. This guy, he is just a slight bit away from perfect here. He is almost right there, but those hips, when you do the splits, they're just a little bit too loose. I'm a little worried that they're going to become looser over time. Right now they'll hold him, but I would have liked to have had tighter hips, and if they had to, maybe go with some kind of ratcheting mechanism or something in there. But what they've got in there, those friction pins, they're not quite sticky enough for my taste. So everything else on this guy is great. I have no issues whatsoever. Came with everything that he was supposed to. Everything tabs in. The engineering is amazing on this guy, and everything fits as it should. Came with all of his accessories correctly, so all that is great. Just those loose hips is going to ding him a little bit. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for overall quality. So that brings us to our final bullet here, which is overall value. I picked this figure up. This was a pre-order from Shozy Store, and the pre-order price that I paid for this guy was $65 US. I think for a figure this size, for what you get, I think it's a competitive price in today's market, but it's still a little on the salty side. So, I mean, I'm paying for a legend scaled figure what I would pay for a leader class figure. Don't get me wrong, I still think the engineering here is far superior to what we saw in that leader class mainline Sludge, but it's still a hard pill to swallow at $65. So could he be less expensive? Always. I think 65 is maybe about the highest that I would want to go on this guy, but that's going to be up to you. Just be careful where you get him from. The online retailers are all over the board for this figure, so just be aware of that. But I picked him up for $65, and I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for overall value. So that brings us to our grand total. Out of a possible 50 points, the Newage Rhedasaurus gets 43 out of 50. That puts him at 86%, and it makes this guy a super easy recommendation from me. I just absolutely adore what Newage has done here with this figure. I personally actually like him a little bit more than their Grimlock, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the Dinobots coming out from Newage. This guy, when you have him in the hand, it's one thing you just can't bring across on the review. When you have him in hand, he absolutely feels high quality. I mean, they use metal here, so he's got some weight. Other than those hips, everything is tight. Everything feels good. The texture of the plastic, the overall look, everything is great. That transformation, once you get it down and you do it a few times, it's actually intuitive and kind of fun. It is a little on the complicated side, but that's what we've come to expect from Newage. But once you get it down, it just flows really easily. And he absolutely has great shelf presence, regardless of the mode that you put him in. So this guy is definitely one I think you're going to want to add to your collection. He is just an absolute blast. So with that, that is going to wrap up the review. I hope you guys got some entertainment, got some good information out of this as well. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment if you feel like it. And one favor to ask, if you know of anyone who may like our channel and what we do here, please share this video with them, share the channel. It's always fun to meet new people. So with that, it's going to wrap it up. Till we see you guys in the next one, take care.